Hello, 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 everybody. Nice to see everybody here. I think hopefully this is the last session of the day. I know everybody's probably getting desperate to go get some drinks. Hopefully we'll be some entertaining. Today we're going to be talking about AI-powered creativity, the new era of business creation powered by strategic procurement. I'm Anthony L., Chief Creative Officer of Razorfish, and I'm joined by my esteemed friend, Chris Duffey.
Anthony, it's great to be here with you. I'm Chris Duffey, Head of Generative AI Partnerships at Adobe. Looking forward to the discussion with you all.
Yeah, so you're probably wondering why two people that are dressed somewhat similar to each other from the creative discipline are here to chat with you guys. Both Chris and I went to art college. We're art directors by trade. But hopefully you'll see through the story that we're going to tell to you today, you'll understand the premise of why we're here. And really it starts with the simple truth that our industry, the marketing, advertising, and communication industry, is going through rapid change right now because of AI.
Absolutely. As you have heard throughout the day, I'm sure there is change everywhere. And so essentially change is constant. But there is a pattern to change. It starts with invention, then leads to reinvention, and it's very cyclical. If you also look to the right of the slide, you'll see the Rogers curve. That started out in 1962, but it has stood the test of time in terms of technological adoption. And you can see how it's segmented by different phases of that adoption, but you can also see there's a chasm there. And that's what we're going to talk about, how we can overcome that chasm with these new technologies.
Yeah, so our industry has gone through seismic change for almost an eternity. It's kind of crazy when you think about marketing, advertising, and communications. There's been technology that's been disrupted from the early days, the 1700s, 1900s, the print era, that ushered in basically newspapers, pamphlets, and posters as early communications. Then we entered into the 1920s, 1960s, the broadcast era. Think of that as radio, television, cinema advertising. That ushered in mass communication to a broader audience.
And then that led to the next era, one of my favorites, the cable and direct response era. And so essentially the impact here was, it was the start of audience segmentation and direct marketing. Some of the technologies that enabled this era was cable TV, obviously, a direct main line into easier access to content. We had toll-free numbers. One of my favorites, I must admit, still to this day, is infomercials. I bought a Giselle back in the day. I'm sure it's still in storage. And then we also have early computer databases and CRMs. That then led to the next era of the digital era. And so the impact here was precision targeting. We're still leveraging today. We have the birth of modern marketing starting in the early 2000s. Some of the technologies here, obviously the internet, the World Wide Web. We had email marketing, search such as Google's, the banner ads, and then DTP. I'm proud to say Adobe was part of that desktop publishing revolution as well.
Yeah. And then bringing us more up to date, 2007 to 2015, the mobile social era. Obviously, I think we're still dealing with this. Pretty much everybody has a mobile device in their back pocket. That was ushered in by numerous different devices, one of the more iconic ones, obviously being the iPhone that was launched in 2007. But this era was defined by Facebook, Instagram, now X, programmatic advertising that changed our industry, the app ecosystem, influencer marketing, which I think obviously changed the way that we consume brand narratives. And then here we are, 2016 to the present, the intelligent and automated era. This has been really defined by customer data platforms, voice and smart assistants, chatbots, and conversational UI, marketing automation, and specifically GenAI and AI more broadly, and automation. And the progression in that space in our industry has been profound.
And it's coming fast, so the acceleration of development and releases is coming at us from all different angles. If you look here, Google obviously was an early entrant. One call out is transformational models, or transformer models. Yep. And so that was a foundational technology that gave us greater understanding of natural language. What was built upon that was OpenAI with ChatGPT. In many ways, it opened up the world to imagination with an AI assistant. Adobe has been in this place for a number of years. Recently, we announced Adobe Firefly that we'll double-click on in a few slides. And quite honestly, the list goes on and on. Too many to mention,
Yes.
but some great ones.
Exactly. So the progression is kind of insane. Now, that progression for somebody like me, relative to using these tools, could be measured by this. Here's a few slides that I'll walk you through, like in terms of like the visual expression. Imagine it's February 2022, and you type in the text prompt, a man riding a horse, and you go to Mid-Journey 1. This is what you got back. You know, like everybody was fascinated, like, oh my God, it's so instantaneous, but what is it? And then you go back 2 months later, April 2022, version 2, and you're like, I don't know, that starts to look like a little bit of a horse. Then you go forward to July 2022 of the same year. It's just like, it's still not quite a horse, but look what happened in version 4, progression. That looks pretty much like a horse and a rider. And then it just gets out of control in terms of version 5, version 6, in terms of its learning and its ability to create the types of things that you expect when you type in a simple text prompt. So the progression here has been insane, and this is 2 years ago at this point. But that progression can also be measured in other ways.
Pretty impressive on how fast that has advanced. So to Anthony's point, there is also another way to measure this, and that is the AI model capacity. You can see how it is a pretty severe hockey stick. Just a few months ago, we had the capacity of achieving a 5-second task, and you can see now, just within a matter of months, we'll have the capacity to achieve 5-month tasks using AI. And so we would offer, you can think of this progression across 4 different technologies, 4 different phases. The first one being AI, or predictive AI. That was really built upon some foundational technologies like probabilistic and deterministic capabilities that could predict the outcome. That then moved into generative AI, all the buzz today in the last few months. That gave us the capacity to do text-based generation, code generation, image generation, video, and so on. We are now, many predict, and myself included and Anthony, we're now moving into this next phase of agentic. And agentic is now a proactive AI collaborator. Very soon out is physical, and that is where robotics start to embody AI as well. Just a couple weeks ago, Amazon announced that they're leveraging robotics and AI to deliver the things that consumers buy. So these are the 4 phases that we'll highlight across the next few slides.
So if we do a good job and we get invited back next time, we'll be here as robots showing up in autonomous vehicles. It's going to be amazing. But all of this change in such a profound period of time has actually created a lot of noise in the system. There's some people that view this very optimistically, some people view this very pessimistically, and then there's some humorous stuff in the middle. So as an example of slightly pessimistic perspectives, per se, you know, what are these models being trained on? Here, Studio Ghibli, this caused quite a lot of problems in terms of like the artifacts that are coming back look awfully similar to somebody's ownable work.
One additional call out is the artist Refik Anadol. You may have seen his work across a number of international airports, and I think it's a wonderful metaphor of how he's combining data with emotion. It's quite beautiful. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't. So in many ways, marketing and advertising is the tip of the spear in terms of early adopters when you look across all of the different industries. And you can think of it in 3 ways. The first being the rate of adoption. It is 2 to 3 times faster. We're defining that by how quickly the industry has adopted AI compared to others. Another big data point is the scale of adoption, 60 to 70% of usage. How widely AI is being used across all companies and all disciplines. And then the depth of adoption is quite substantial as well, 30 to 40% integration. How deeply is AI embedded into the workflows, the decision-making, and creative processes? So if you scan the bottom, you can see how the industries are starting to adapt and adopt AI.
Yeah, so in many ways, we're sort of like from the future. But speaking of a depth of adoption and integration, here's sort of like what a classic archetypal creative workflow looks like. Insight, strategic brief, a bunch of creatives get together, they come up with some ideas, they then produce them, that gets distributed and optimized in real time. when you look at what's happening in our industry, at every single stage, there is somebody applying the power of AI to fundamentally change how we do that piece. It is unbelievable how rapidly the change is happening. Now, we'll show you a few examples from within the creative slice, because to me, these are sort of mind-boggling. So I hope everybody's played around with this. Runway ML, Gen 4, everybody? No? Text to video? It's extraordinary. What was amazing about Gen 4 was the control functions that you had over your video. Basically being able to carry characters over and scenes over. So ultimately, you'll be able to start making movies really, really easily. And then this thing just dropped 2 weeks ago, Google Veo 3, along with Flow, which is mind-boggling as well. The physics are insane, and it also integrates voice into the actual generation in the first place.
And then Adobe, of course, has an offering called Adobe Firefly. It's a multimodal AI-first approach. And I think the unique value proposition here is that it is commercially safe, 100% indemnified. What that means is it was trained on owned data. And so you can have the peace of mind to use that it's brand safe.
Yeah, brand safety is very important in our industry. And then last but not least, Bing Video Creator. Everybody follow this? The actual video is OpenAI Sora. This is their hero film from last year. Again, when this showed up, minds were blown, like, what is possible? But now it's just got ported in as a powerful backing tool for these videos here, which are basically designed for social and mobile, so people will start sharing their creativity in the platforms that we all use today. And beyond this, in every single one of those segments, there is a massive amount of other companies that are investing time and energy to think about how AI can fundamentally change what happens in each of those stages. But there's also companies working at an end-to-end enterprise solution level where they're trying to piece all these pieces together to actually squeeze out more effective work more efficiently. A few examples would be?
It's a great point, Anthony. In parallel to all of the advancements in terms of the individual products, there's also a platform opportunity in terms of the orchestration. Here you can see Adobe Gen Studio. It's a unified end-to-end platform where you can extract insights in near real time, you can create the content in near real time, distribute it, and then optimize. The second one being Google. Obviously, they have a number of owned channels, and you can see how they're taking a unified approach with this, where you can gain those insights from those channels and then help inform the optimization of the distribution of the content.
So these tools are helping us create an immense amount of content. Here's some statistics from our industry that may baffle you. So 12 trillion pieces of marketing content created every year. Anybody want to guess how many that is a day? Anybody who's got like math major? Nobody? All right, well here's the thing. 36 billion pieces of marketing content produced every day. Every day. And guess what? The demand for this content is requiring us to use these tools, because demand, according to Group M and McKinsey, is going to double in 5 years. 24 trillion pieces of content created every year and 72 billion pieces a day. We have to use these tools. But the importance of these tools is not just measured in the output, it's also measured in...
It's absolutely quite profound when you look at these stats. So it's also creating more effectiveness in terms of the content that is getting created and distributed. And we're measuring that by marketers reported significant improvements in their marketing outcomes due to AI implementation. Secondly, it's not only more effective, it's more efficient. This is a conservative stat, 65 to 85% more efficient. Just imagine that, being able to achieve a task with that time savings. So this is where marketers report increased productivity.
Yeah, so when you take a step back and you look at this chapter, here we are, human imagination mixed in with machine acceleration is allowing us to bring smarter ideas to market with greater scale and fewer resources, whilst also driving better outcomes. On the left-hand side, you've got kind of current state. There's a certain amount of throughput. It takes a certain amount of time, regardless of how quickly you try to make things happen. But the future state is far more time compression, greater volume. But the other part of this is it's getting way easier. And what I mean by that is you don't actually need to be a writer to write anymore. I don't need to be a coder to generate a 5-star app. As you saw pretty easily, I'll soon be able to make a motion picture pretty easily, maybe in the next few years, It's really about what the ideas are in my head versus the technical skills. And Chris is going to live out his dream of becoming a chart-topping musician.
Next year, I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like the summation of this chapter is welcome to the era of the democratization of creativity, right? And this is a really important point. Because of automation, AI, and accessible tools, creativity is no longer gated by training, titles, or access to agencies and studios. It's no longer reserved for the few, it's expressed by the many. Everyone is now a creator. So you're probably like, okay, how does this relate to business, you know, more broadly outside of the business that we're in? Well, guess what? Every business starts with an idea about what could be more useful, more meaningful, more human. There's a kernel of an idea that you have to capture and take from ideation out into the marketplace. Now, here's a snapshot of some companies that have obviously changed the way the world works. I would offer out there on the floor, there's probably companies that will do the exact same thing, which is great. However, it is not easy.
Absolutely. So that's essentially the hypothesis. Now with AI, you can start ideas faster. However, there's a reality. Business creation workflow is complex. It's slow and constrained. And so from a slow standpoint, we know that time from ideation to execution is often dragged down by a number of internal factors. Secondly, it's quite complex. There's too many tools quite often, too many teams, platforms, politics, and so on. And then you combine that with it's constrained in many ways. Ideas are boxed in by budgets, by brands, by guidelines, legacy systems, and so on. So if you scan across the bottom, you can see all of the different phases of complexity of the business creation workflow, starting with again, the ideation, the business planning, of course, the legal, the financial aspects, the product development, marketing, operations, and growth. And this is what we would love for you to leave with. This is an opportunity for strategic procurement to be the backbone of organizations, to up-level organizations going forward.
So if you take our first chapter and you think about this piece of it, like the marketing and advertising piece, and all the things that we talked about in that one piece, and that we are sort of like the industry that seemingly is leading the charge, guess what? It's happening across all of these channels. Whether it's ideation, business planning, legal, there are equally as many, if not more, companies using the power of AI to fundamentally revolutionize how that one piece is done. A couple of examples?
Yeah, speaking of revolutionizing, one example is AlphaSense. So essentially it's using machine learning to scour vast oceans of data to extract insights, and in many ways giving the users the ability to find insights that they didn't even know to ask. Another example is Hum Capital. We just had a great conversation before the session with a startup. And so one of the big gaps currently is you have the idea, you created the product, but how do I find the funding? And now with Hum, you can connect the VC with the startup using AI.
Another couple of examples from different categories. Everybody heard of Cursor? I'm sure everybody's heard of Cursor. This is an amazing story. Started in 2022. It's 2025. It's worth $9 billion. Why I love it is because I can code. Thank you, Cursor. Another example is Harvey. I love the name. I assume it's named after Harvey Specter. But this is a legal assistant, you know, that's helping lawyers and attorneys become better lawyers and attorneys. But suspicion is, obviously, at some point we'll be dealing with Harvey itself. But just like in the creative space, there are a ton of other companies, startups and existing companies, looking at each of those steps in the business creation workflow to utilize AI in a way that sort of fundamentally changes how you can deliver on that against those promises of do more with less. And that's also true of strategic procurement.
Absolutely, preaching to the choir, but there's many aspects to procurement, everything from automation and agentic sourcing. You can see here just a few examples. Many are outside as well to help enable faster productivity there. Supply and risk intelligence, also a great opportunity to infuse AI for greater intelligence. contract and compliance intelligence, essentially the ability to go through all of the contracts from a risk mitigation standpoint, procurement, workflow and automation, and then spend analysis and decision support.
Yeah. So again, just like in the creative workflow, the business creation workflow has organizations that are looking at compressing all of it together in an end-to-end solution. Now, this is a big dream because obviously this spans multiple industries, but there's definitely companies that are starting to lean in to figure out how to do that using agentic AI and agentic AI orchestration. So I know that's been a subject. Chris, whose focuses on AI, what is that?
Yeah, I'm sure you're inundated with a number of AI buzzwords, agentic being the most recent one, but essentially from a high level, that means that it's moving from a passive capability to being more proactive. So agentic AI, AI that doesn't wait. It makes things happen. You give it a task, and it will proactively go after that task. That is pretty interesting in of itself, but when you combine that with the ability to integrate multiple agents together, orchestration, that then allows for greater collective intelligence across all of those agents.
Yeah, and a couple of great examples that are doing that. I'm sure everybody knows Salesforce. Anybody played around with Agentforce? Clearly they like the word force in their communications and their naming strategy. This is an amazing thing. It's a series of agents that you can custom tailor against your business needs. It's phenomenal.
Another example is Microsoft's Copilot, a very early entrance. I'm sure you probably use a number of their tools on a daily basis, very familiar, everything from a spreadsheet to an Outlook to Office Dynamics. In many ways, you have to go and search for that information across those individual products. Now with an agent, Copilot, it can extract and provide a unified view of that information.
Yeah, so here we are, a similar theme. Human imagination and machine acceleration in this space is reshaping how businesses are born and brought to market, enabling ideas to move from spark to scale with unprecedented speed, efficiency, and relevancy. Left-hand side, the old way, right-hand side, the new way. Increased volume, shorter time horizons to market. And this isn't just about new companies adopting to this reality. It's about helping existing companies reinvent themselves. So when we think about 2030, what does that look like?
Absolutely. You can see here, we're now literally moving from months to moments. Business creation is now measured in days, maybe even hours. Also, businesses must adapt and think and act like software companies. The winners won't just launch, they'll continuously reinvent themselves. Thirdly, disruption will hit faster, harder, and more often. A bit of a provocative, but probably a very true statement. Competition will emerge seemingly overnight and essentially evolve or potentially vanish. And then lastly, everyone, whether you're a team lead, you're an enterprise lead, or an individual lead, everyone is now a founder. So the founder mentality is quite important. AI levels the playing field, making entrepreneurship radically accessible now.
Right, so if everything is readily accessible, what's the time horizon, Chris?
Yeah, great point. So the timeline in terms of how fast things are coming, a couple of predictions here. Over the next few months, business creation accelerates in speed and scope, as we have talked about. AI tools will be a key to simplify a number of the existing workflow. Few years out, AI-first modular businesses will take shape. Quite exciting. Founders will lean into, as we talked about, the AI agents to augment operations, not fully replace them. And then 5 years out, autonomous experimentation is going to reach scale. We're already seeing that currently. What we mean by that is AI micro brands will start to use AI and agents to iterate the strategy, the product, and then the optimization.
Right. So if everybody's a creator, everybody can be a founder, there's no technical skills required, clearly access isn't the only advantage, right? In a world where speed, saturation, sameness define the market, the only lasting advantage is to be more creative. To stay relevant, incumbents must stop protecting what is and start imagining what could be. So our supposition is the true business advantage is creative intelligence. Now you might be like, oh, that sounds funny coming from two people that went to art college and call themselves creatives. But it's not just us that thinks this. Here's the WEF. I'm sure everybody's heard of them. The World Economic Forum. Pretty smart bunch of people. Here's the cool skills to have for 2030 to survive. Top right-hand quadrant. What's smack in the middle of it? Creative thinking, surrounded by a whole bunch of other stuff that are more left brain than right brain. Okay, so what does this mean for you, strategic procurement? Well, it means a few things.
All right, here's the secret sauce for future success. Number one, creativity is truly your competitive edge. Creativity isn't just an aesthetic, it's business capacity, one that should sit at the top table, driving strategy, innovation, and growth. For you, procurement, that means looking beyond efficient partners to those who bring originality, adaptability, and new ways of thinking. In summary, for this first key takeaway, the next evolution from sourcing services to sourcing possibilities and imagination.
And point number two, build systems that fuel original thinking. Creative thinking, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It needs structure, teams, tools, incentives, rewards, exploration, experimentation, and occasional well-placed gamble, which I think Chris and I, we've both done quite a few times. For procurement, that means backing bold moves, piloting unconventional suppliers, exploring new markets, and creating space for ideas with upside. So in summary, it's not about controlling risk, it's about engineering discovery.
Great point, Anthony. And number three, we'll leave you with invest in creative fluency across the business, essentially upskilling. So everyone needs to think creatively now with AI, with data, with the new technologies that are happening seemingly overnight. This isn't about turning your team into artists. It's about unlocking that imagination where it's been hiding in every role. For procurement, that means turning data into something that's more useful, more actionable, from the foresight, the patterns, recognition, and faster decisions. In summary, the new fluency, spot what others miss, then act before they do.
So in summary, all of that blitz of slides and the archetype of why we're here, this is it. Creative advantage starts with you. Who you select, who you bring in, and your position in the organization can fundamentally change the outcome of the organization against the marketplace that's going to change this rapidly, fueled by creativity, because the playing field is open for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.